you can train yourself to see everything as content. I mean, and if you really think about it, the questions that your clients are asking you, other people are probably going to ask you.
Hello and welcome to episode 49 of the Smart Agents Podcast. My name is Michael Walter and I'll be your host. On today's episode, we're joined by Lindsey Tronolone. Based in South Florida, Lindsey is fairly new to real estate, breaking into the industry in November of last year. However, with years of experience marketing other online businesses, she has mastered the use of social media and brand building. Throughout our conversation, she shares her tips for not only creating engaging content, but also tips for beating the social media algorithms to get your content in front of more people. Now, before we get into the day's featured interview, make sure you follow and subscribe to the show on whatever platform you listen to podcasts. You can find us on all major podcasting platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and the list goes on. Also, as you can see if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to the Smart Agents YouTube channel. Click the bell to get notifications whenever each new episode is uploaded. And lastly, if you or somebody else on your team has an awesome story or a tip to share with our community, send us a message at feedback@smartagents.com. We're always on the lookout for new stories to share. All right, let's get on to the day's featured interview with Lindsey, where she shares her tips for building a brand online. So pretty much the way I like to get everything started is if you could just tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're at in the country and how you got into real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. First, I want to thank you so much for having me here. I'm super excited to be on the Smart Agents podcast. My name is Lindsey Tronolone. I live in South Florida, specifically the Jupiter Palm Beach Gardens area. If you are familiar with it, it has been crazy here lately from a real estate perspective. I feel like everyone is moving here. But yeah, I've been in the real estate industry since November of 2020, so very relatively new. I jumped in with both feet. I fell in love with real estate very quickly, just because I love the autonomy to build it the way I want to build it. I love the freedom to market myself however I want to. And I like to say I'm unemployable because I've been an entrepreneur for so long that this checks all the boxes for me. So yeah, I'm located in South Florida. Been in for about 7 months now, and just really loving it. I'm very much a people person. I was a bartender for years, so I love connecting with people. I love the hunt of finding that perfect home, or the flip side, finding that perfect buyer, and just providing great quality service to my clients, being authentic with them, walking them through the process. Because I think what a lot of people don't realize is, buying your home is the largest financial transaction most people will have in their lives. So it can be overwhelming. And I really like to help guide them and make it fun, because that's what it should be, in my opinion.
Right, definitely. And like Florida is crazy. I live up in St. Augustine, so not too far from you. And it's been nuts. I mean, there's houses, my neighbor sold his house in 15 minutes. It's just wild. I had my first listing go live on May 1st. Within 16 hours, we had 9 interested buyers, 4 of which were cash. And this was a $1 million plus home. So it's crazy. I mean, it's really the things that are happening right now, and not just here, are really, really mind blowing what's going on out there. Right. So getting into the business relatively, not too long ago, how have you started to make your name? How are you starting to drum up that business and say, hey, I'm a realtor, I can help you out?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I mentioned before, I've been an entrepreneur for a long time. For the last 3 years, I've run an online business, and I really scaled it to where a lot of it was automated. So it freed up some time for me, and I love a challenge. Someone mentioned that, I might be good at real estate. So I immediately got my license. I jumped in. So for me, I kind of have a little bit of not expertise, because I don't want you to think that I'm some internet expert. I'm not, but I built my whole business online previously. So I knew the power of social media. I knew the power of being present, of utilizing video, of podcasts, of, all these different ways that you can build your business online. So I just applied that to my real estate business, because it is so similar. Real estate is, you will get out of it what you put into it. Even if you're not closing deals your first year, even, it's going to happen, because people want to do business with people that they know, that they like, and that they trust. And the more you show up, the more present you are, especially on social media. In my experience, it just skyrockets your ability to connect with that many more people.
Right. Right. And then, so, because you had that experience running your own business, you're used to it's not a 9 to 5 deal. It is like you said, you put into it you get what you put into it. So it hasn't been a challenge. There's a lot of people that come from, corporate jobs or, that 9 to 5 that they're not, hey, that 7 o'clock call on a Friday, it's going to happen and you got to deal with it.
Exactly. And, but on the flip side of that, you can still schedule your deals, as you like. I mean, I'm a mom. I have a 4-year-old son. I'm married to a yacht captain. So he travels a lot for work. So I have to be as productive as possible in the windows that I'm working my business. Now, especially in this market, I do get calls at weird hours, but because, I set that, understanding early with my clients. Listen, I will get back to you as soon as I physically possibly can. But sometimes, I am with my kid and sometimes I'm, doing other stuff. So just having that conversation with your clients and letting them understand, we all have a life, we're all doing stuff. Yes, I'm going to work super hard for you. But just having that conversation early in my experience has really helped, move the conversation along quicker and just put both people on the same page.
Right. Right. So when you broke in, are you working for a brokerage? How did you get yourself into the industry?
Yeah, so I do. I'm partnered with a brokerage, Illustrated Properties down here in Palm Beach County. We are very well known, got a stellar reputation. And that's what drew me to this brokerage. I interviewed probably 7 brokerages before I made my decision because I knew, again, from, launching a business previously, I didn't want to flip-flop in the beginning. I wanted to be so sure about where I decided to hang my license. So I interviewed with a bunch and ultimately settled with Illustrated because of their reputation and, more importantly, because of their training. As a new agent, your test doesn't apply to the real world. I mean, you learn about square footage and millage. I mean, it doesn't apply. So I knew coming into it, and just having some people that I could speak candidly with who were in the real estate industry, understanding that learning by doing and having that training and having that understanding is going to pay for itself tenfold because, most agents are not going to have a transaction in their first 6 months, their first year. So dedicating as much time as possible to learning, contract writing, closing the sale, all of these things that go into real estate. It's not just about you're going to buy and sell a house. It's, dealing with the questions and guiding people through and sometimes being a therapist and just doing all these different things, having that solid foundation of the stellar reputation. People know that brokerage here, and then also paired with the training and the ability to get my questions answered quickly was what really sold it for me.
Right. Right. And I think like that kind of training, the contract writing and that type of stuff is so beneficial. And especially like for you, you have the experience, like you said, you had the experience as a bartender. So you got the therapist part of it checked because, everybody knows you got to sit there talking to the bartender. And then with running your own business, like closing the sale, like you've got that too. So if you can get the training on the contract writing and the kind of nitty gritty details of it, you're setting yourself up.
Exactly. And I wanted to be able to have access to that. And in 2021, I mean, everything is online, is accessible, but there were a lot of brokerages that said, well, we'll pay you 100% commission. We'll give you all this stuff, but they didn't have the training. So 100% commission of nothing is nothing. So, I went with where I did do a little bit of a split with the brokerage I'm with now, but it's worth it because they're teaching me everything that I would ever need to know.
Right. Right. And then, so moving on from that, your personal branding is so important in real estate too. There's one thing to have the brokerage behind you, but at the end of the day, you still are your own brand. And having that experience on social media, what are you doing to kind of do that?
Yeah, it's such a great point because whether you're selling, a supplement, a glass of lemonade or a house, people are falling in love with you. They're not falling in love with the thing. They want to work with someone that they genuinely like to work with. So my social media presence and kind of my angle on social media has always been to share all all aspects of my life, because if someone's going to do business with me, I want them to understand that, yeah, I am a mom, that, yeah, I do have some expertise in this area. And I want them to feel comfortable reaching out to me, because we're going to be working closely with money, on a very large transaction. So I want my clients to feel comfortable with me, and building on social media, in my opinion, kind of showing them myself rather than just my brokerage, like just my listings, because at the end of the day, nobody cares. I mean, the person buying that house cares, person selling that house cares, but most people on social media are not going to fall in love with you because you post a listing. They're going to want to do business with you because they think you're funny, because they resonate with the content you're putting out, because you provide value, because you're helpful to them, because you've let them understand the process, rather than just they're so overwhelmed they just pick someone out of off Google. So having that social media presence really gives my clients, I think, the ability to see me full circle, which has paid off. People feel like, wow, thank you for that. Or, I see you posting about, storm preparation, or great coffee shops in the area, or new businesses opening. Like, that's what people want in a community. And as an agent, yes, I'm going to help you buy or sell your home, but I'm also going to give you advice on other things, especially if you're new to the area.
Right. So when it comes to creating that content, how do you come up with the ideas of these things that, as questions come up from real people that you're talking to, you're like, oh yeah, that's a great idea, I can put that out, or, what's your process?
Yeah. Again, because I built a business on social media previously, you can train yourself to see everything as content. I mean, and if you really think about it, the questions that your clients are asking you, other people are probably going to ask you. So, to create a piece of content, a live video, I do a lot of live videos on Facebook. I do TikToks. I make reels, because people want information in short clips. They want to see something, go, oh, wow, that's interesting, or wow, I didn't know that. And then you've established you've established yourself as someone that they can go to with questions, and they feel comfortable with you, because again, they're seeing your total package here. So when it comes to content creation, I really think in kind of three topics. Is it going to educate my ideal client? Is it going to empower my ideal client? Or is it going to entertain my ideal client? Not everything I post is paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs of, quite frankly, it's usually never paragraphs. Sometimes it's just funny realities, especially in this current real estate market where, it's just things are flying off the shelves. There's no inventory. Utilizing all aspects of real estate and making it fun, and educating, my client in the process is kind of where I shoot from.
Right. And the tools now available to people, Instagram, they've all made it so easy. You don't have to have these crazy, video editing softwares or anything. You do it right from your phone. You put the information on there and you're good to go.
Yeah. I mean, quite frankly, of course, when you join a brokerage, they provide you with lead capture and, all of it, funnels and the website builder. I'll be completely transparent. I've looked at that maybe once or twice. I just sent out my first farming email in 7 months. Most of my leads come from Reels, come from TikTok, come from Instagram posts, come from Facebook Live video. People saying, because now I'm top of mind. They're not scrolling on Google, they're scrolling on social media. So if you are constantly top of mind, and you're providing that value and they can connect with you, they're always going to want to do business with you, because you're there, you're in, you've captured their attention. And on social media, as well as I do, it's all about who has the eyeballs on them.
Right. So I think, sometimes with social media, people think like, how do I target people? How do I get the actual people that I'm really going for and not just shooting it out to everybody? So what are some of your tips for actually, in Florida, you're getting a lot of relocation. So maybe, promoting your stuff up to places like the New Yorks or, really the Northeast, coming down to Florida, and then also being able to target your local market, saying, hey, this new restaurant's coming out. What are you doing to do that?
So what I like to do, I do this more so on Facebook because it's kind of easier. I know the people on my friends list. I know the people that are living in Florida, and I know the people that are kind of in those hotspots, California, New York, New Jersey. I know where those people are. So what I like to do is I sit down on Sunday and I pre-plan all of my content. It's a mix of lifestyle, real estate, my other business I also promote as well. So when I sit down and do that, once I have my calendar, I know what's posting when, I will then, the day before or sometimes the day of, let's say I'm going to make a real estate post on Wednesday, and I know that. So on Tuesday evening or sometimes Wednesday morning, if I have time, I'm going to go to those people that live in New York, New Jersey, South Florida, and I'm going to interact with their stuff. I'm going to love on their story. I'm going to maybe send them a message if they're on vacation, if they're doing something. I'm going to show them that I'm paying attention to them. And what this does on the flip side is they get a notification from me. If it's not someone I've connected with in a while, they're going to go, oh, wow, I wonder what Lindsey's up to. Let me go check out her profile. Okay. And then on the flip side of that, because I'm interacting with them consistently, the algorithm is now going to promote my post more to them because the algorithm thinks that we're friends because we're connecting and we're talking. And so now I've interacted with them authentically. I've not about real estate, hardly ever about real estate. I've commented, I've showed up in their inbox maybe, they've gotten a notification from me. So then the next day when I make that post, they are more likely to see it. They're more likely to engage with it. And when you look at your social media as a tool rather than a toy, it goes so much farther for you. It doesn't have to be, hey, it's Lindsey with Illustrated Properties. Like, are you considering buying a home? It doesn't have to be like that. Now, can you do that? Absolutely. But for me, it's much more organic, much more authentic to just go through, understand who your ideal prospect is, love on their stuff a little bit, and then go in with those power posts that are going to establish you as a real estate agent that people can trust and want to do business with.
Right. And it's interesting, you talk about, the organic, just by being just a friend, just going on there and doing your thing. But you have to do that, trying to think of the right way to say this, by doing the things the organic way and kind of showing that algorithm and showing Facebook that, hey, you guys do interact, you're able to turn it, use it as that mechanical tool and things like that. So it is interesting how they're different, almost different mindsets, but they do work very well together.
It's like high tech, high touch. So yeah. It's very technical. It's all done on the interwebs, right? But it's also very personal. I'm instead of, having to call, nobody answers their phone anymore. Like nobody answers a call from a number that they don't know, or they're like, why is she calling me after 10 years? Like what's going on? But they will check their DMs. They will see a notification, and whether they respond right away or not, I'm now top of mind. Right. And if you do that enough, and you really come from an authentic place, I do not recommend just copy and pasting the same message. Like, be a friend first. Yeah. People want to do business with their friends or people that they feel comfortable with. And in my experience, using social media from that high tech, but also high touch standpoint pays off tenfold. Even if it's not now, you're planting those seeds for later when they do need you.
Right. I like what you talked about earlier, how you kind of plan out everything on Sunday nights. And because social media can be so time consuming if you let it be time consuming. There is that, if I allocate a certain amount of time each day or, once a week to plan out what I'm doing, you're going to cut back on a lot of that. Oh, I wonder what I should do here. Or, I think a lot of people also, when they're trying to think of what to do, they get stuck scrolling, and you've wasted an hour just scrolling through your own social media.
You've nailed it. You have to pre-plan your content. You have to be, it's got to be intentional. It can't, if you wake up and I learned this quickly early on with my previous business was, I would go, okay, I'll just make a post in the morning. And then the morning would come, my kid would be crying. I couldn't think clearly. I was maybe sleep deprived. I had this young kid. And then it's 3:00 and I haven't even showed up at all. So I got really intentional about time blocking and, looking at my schedule. I have this little, I know the audience can't see it, but it's just a little calendar from Target. It fits in my purse. And I take it out every single week on Sundays. And I say, what's coming up this week? What should I be promoting? What pieces of content do I want to put out this week? When do I have time to do a video? When do I have time to film a testimonial? June 1st is hurricane season here in Florida. So when can I put together some pieces of content that are timely? How people can prepare now, for their home. So just sitting down and thinking, and instead of just scrolling and trying to find or just sharing something that nobody cares about, be intentional about your social media presence and sit down on Sundays and block out an hour, 2 hours. The content will come faster the more you do it, just like anything else.
Right. And I really like that idea, like, kind of looking ahead, saying, okay, what's coming up? Like that, the whole, the example of hurricane season. Everybody knows, like everybody in Florida, we all know that, hey, June, it's coming. And you see, even the TV stations around here, they're doing all kind of specials on preparing your home for hurricane season. And, you can take that same method and say, hey, next week I need to promote this, and just kind of get it out there, and then kind of sprinkle some things in throughout the next few weeks.
Yeah. And think about my best piece of advice that I ever received in business is stop making it about me. It's not about me. It's about me serving my client. It's about me serving my customer. It's about me providing some value that's going to help somebody else. And, if you think about it in the month of June, like, yes, in Florida, it's storm season. Father's Day is also coming up, so highlighting when my listing that I have now closes, highlighting that they get to celebrate for Father's Day, they sold their house. How exciting. They're moving on to this new chapter, and just thinking like, what's going on in people's lives? What, on Friday, people are more likely to be receptive to a business or promotional style real estate post because on Fridays, people are in a good mood. If you try to hit somebody on Monday morning with a salesy message, they are not going to respond to you because it's Monday morning. And just thinking, what's in it for them? What will benefit my client, through my social media posts or through the actual service that I'm providing them? How will it benefit them? Because if it benefits them, it will ultimately benefit me. It's just, that's the law of reciprocity.
Right. When it comes to the social media, what are you using to, help distribute all of those pieces of content? Because it does get time consuming if you are, all right, let me go to my Facebook page and do everything boom, boom, boom here. Are you using one of those tools out there to kind of help schedule a little bit?
So I do not, only because in my experience, they don't get as much traction because the algorithms know it's an automatic system. But again, because I sat down on Sunday and I batched a bunch of content early, so I know what's posting when, it takes me 5 minutes to copy and paste across different platforms. So I build specifically on Facebook, on Instagram, and through TikTok. TikTok is mostly just lead generation because people want to watch videos. But because I have all that content pre-planned, it's just upload. I repurpose my TikToks to my Instagram reels. The piece of content that was educational, I can post on Facebook, and then maybe later in the week, I'll create another TikTok on that same exact content. So it's just a matter of, again, time blocking, figuring out what do I want to talk about this week. And it doesn't have to be over. People make it overwhelming because they just think, oh my God, I'm not creative. You can go on social media and look at a real estate agent who is blowing up there and just copy their content. Like, right. Don't copyright it, but take an idea and make it your own. That's what social media is there for. So, it doesn't have to be overwhelming. It doesn't have to be 16 pieces of content every week. If you put out 3 to 5 great pieces of content every week, you're perfect. It doesn't have to be crazy. So, and the other piece of advice for anybody that's looking to expand on social media, show those behind the scenes moments. Show those, you're touring a home. I do a lot of live videos of me touring homes. People are interested in that stuff. Show what it is that you do. As real estate agents, we do have that time flexibility. So, if you've got a middle of the day and you're out golfing and you're maybe prospecting somebody on the golf course or something, show that, because you just living your life and sharing that portion of, yes, I am a real estate agent, but I also do these other things, really makes a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, before we wrap up, you're now 6 months into it. Tell me, what are your goals for the rest of this year?
Yeah, great question. Ultimately, I'm perfecting the craft right now, and I know that it takes much longer than a year to, become a great agent. My goal this year is to continue to grow my social media following by providing value that we talked about before. I would love to get 3 to 5 more listings before the end of the year. That's kind of my sweet spot. Again, I know listings are real hard to come by right now, but I do make a point every day to, again, time block some prospecting time, ask people questions, and just see, hey, maybe you're not ready, but do you know anybody who might be considering listing their home, and sharing the statistics of what's happening out there. That's really it. Just learning as much as I can, sharing value and providing stellar quality service are really the top 3.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for spending time with me this morning.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I had so much fun.
I really want to thank Lindsey for taking the time to join us today. And I think what she says about actually interacting with your social media followers is key. So once again, if you think you or somebody else on your team has an awesome story or tip to share with our community, send us a message at feedback@smartagents.com. Well, that wraps things up for this episode, but remember, follow the show wherever you listen to podcasts, and make sure you subscribe to the Smart Agents YouTube channel. Again, I'm Michael Walter, and we'll see you on the next episode.